We the lazy declare that we will recline when we feel inclined. And yes, we feel inclined.
We answered our kids' questions all day. It's our time to prioritize, no priorities.
Why?
Because
We put in back-to-back doubles, so now we'll be putting in extra OT right here.
We've checked off our to-do list.
Now we're checking off our to-don't list.
we the lazy are taking back lazy.
By getting comfy on our Lazy Boy furniture.
Lazy Boy. Long live the lazy.
Time, weather, and
How you doing, everybody? I'm Chief Meteorologist Denis Phillips. Heat's still the hot topic of weather conversation, right? Just smashed the previous record for rainfall in Tampa. Still a very nice day. We've got some clouds out there, even a couple of sprinkles as another front rolls through the area. Most of us wake up to sunshine and then very warm temperatures in the afternoon. Our temperatures, they're going up and they're staying up. Really nice forecast, especially if you're planning on going to the beach or the pool. Rain chances very slim. It's another beautiful day in store. It's going to bring us a very high chance of storms. Isolated showers across the area. Mother Nature likes to remind us that it isn't set by a calendar. We are always on it for you just in case things begin to pop.
Streaming from the ABC Action Weather Center in Studio A, this is Denis Phillips Live, sponsored by Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries. Level up your lazy moments. Visit one of our 6 Bay Area showrooms today. Lazy Boy, long live the lazy.
How you doing, everybody? Tuesday night edition of Denis Phillips Live. DPL, how you doing? I would expect, since the weather's kind of quiet, this is kind of the lull in the season. It's the time where a lot of folks usually love this weather. Typically, it's sunny and 75. The nights are around 50, kind of crisp in the morning for people. But this has been a typical El Nino year. I mean, we have talked about this for, 7, 8 months, that the long-range forecast would bring us rain. Now, I'll tell you, we knew there'd be a stormy stretch. We've had even more rain than I think a lot of folks expected, and I think a lot of them are like, all right, you know what, I get it. We're still low on water in some cases, but I like my sunshine. This last weekend was amazing, right? Absolutely gorgeous. We've got so many things coming up over the next several weeks. We have the Florida State Fair continuing for another week. We have the Florida Strawberry Festival in Plant City coming up the end of February into the first part of March. I think I may be live there maybe on March 8th. I'm not really sure. You've got the Gasparilla Festival of Arts, literally one of, if not my favorite event of the entire year. That's going on in Julian B. Lane Park in Tampa the first weekend of March. I MC that event on Saturday and Sunday. That is a fun crowd. It's massive. I mean, that whole park is full of local artists, of national, international artists. There's a ton of scholarship money given out, a lot of prize money. It's a really great event. That's coming up over the next few weeks. So lots of stuff going on. The problem in an El Nino is, how do you keep things dry for those events? Spring training is literally, pitchers and catchers are reporting right around the corner. I think we did a story saying that the Rays players congregate next Monday, so they report. So yeah, it's a lot going on. I want to say a special shout out to our folks on Instagram. We've just started streaming on Instagram. We've been out there for a long time. We've been doing this for, nearly a decade, but Insta is now becoming a live deal as well. TikTok, I will tell you a story. I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but we did a story, or I saw a story somewhere that was saying that there was a college class, an auditorium, and the professor asked, what percentage of the people, raise your hand, what percentage of the people in that class got their news from TikTok? And it was about 40%. So the ages were probably 19 to 22 in that ballpark. But I mean, that was fascinating. And that was also something that I just don't think a news operation can ignore. Because, we're clearly streaming on all these sources. We have this one we're watching right now. We're broadcast, we're streaming, we're YouTube, we're social media, We're all these different on-demand platforms, and TikTok is one where I get it. There's been political rumblings about the pros and cons of TikTok and its origin and whatnot, but I just think at this point, if you're trying to get a younger demographic, you simply cannot ignore that. Instagram is obviously a popular one as well. So our goal is to be in all these different areas. But as we were talking about El Nino, and this is a map I've shown before, but I want to show it again because, we get some new folks who are in here, and this kind of tells you, because people are already asking me, Dennis, what does this mean for summer? What does it mean for hurricane season? Are we going to go right from an El Nino to a La Nina? It doesn't work that way. All El Nino is, typically, this is what would be an average year. See all that warm water well off the coast of South America in the Pacific. Normally, the trade winds blow east to west, and it pushes these warm waters towards Asia. That's what typically happens, okay? But when you get an El Nino, that's not what you see. You see that warm water congregating off the coast of South America, all right? So, and this is why. Because in certain years, the trade winds weaken, and that pushes the water off the coast of South America. So instead of the trade winds pushing everything out away from South America, that warm pool of water is much closer to South America. Now, why does that matter? It matters because it has a huge impact on the upper level winds and how it impacts the United States, or for that matter, the world, right? So, when you have an El Nino in the wintertime, you have the subtropical jet, that's the red arrow. The jet stream is usually broken down into two distinct jets in North America. You have the polar jet, which you would think obviously brings in polar air, colder air. And you also have the subtropical jet, otherwise known as the Pineapple Express, okay? And that jet that's the one with the red arrows going right across Florida, and you see what happens. You get a much wetter than normal stretch across the deep south, across the southeast, and back west to the Four Corners area. Not only do you get a wetter stretch of weather, you also get a stormier stretch of weather because that jet is more active. The more active the jet is, the more energized the jet is, the more potent these individual storms can be. So that's the winter time. So what about in the summertime? Because you hear us talk about El Nino a lot. Ooh, I'm going to go back because I think I took that out and I want to show the entire thing as well. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and open this window. All right. So you've got the area going off of the U.S. But in the summertime, in hurricane season, those upper level winds push all the way across the Caribbean and into the tropical Atlantic. Now, why would that limit hurricane development? Why would that limit hurricane development? Well, and by the way, I will answer all your questions shortly about this weekend coming up in just a second. And I'll do my hellos, because we haven't done any hellos yet either. Someone said that it sounded like a romper room hello, which if you're younger than 40, you probably don't know what romper room is. But romper room was a really popular show for little kids. It was like a little kindergarten show, and they always did a hello. Anyway, so you look at this. Why is it important in hurricane season? Well, think about it. The development of a hurricane. You know what? I'm going to show you that graphic too. Just because we can. Let me see if I can find it. It is somewhere deep in the memory of this computer. If I had planned it out better, I would have had it. But I'm not a good planner. It's a weakness of mine. All right, so here we go. Let me look through here. So I think I have it in here somewhere. I'm looking at the graphic called Tropics, but that might not be it. So I might, you know what? I might, alas, I might, no, I think it's here. Wait, stand by. Stand by. I'm looking at all these old hurricane graphics, and they're funny because some of them are super, super old. Wait Wait a minute, almost there. I'm scrolling through, I'm seeing all these surge maps that we had with Idalia and with Irma. These are all still sitting here in this computer. Ian high tides. Holy cow. Look at all this stuff. All right, here it is. So here's a look at why those upper level winds are significant, okay? When you have a developing tropical system, you have unstable air and the temps cool with height. Well, it's unstable because it's warm and it rises. That rising, oh, that's going too fast. Stand by, I'm gonna pause that. If we're gonna talk about it, we might as well talk about it. All right, so again, the rising air leads to convection, vertical motion, and clouds. So you got that hot water, it rises, and as it does so, it destabilizes, okay? It becomes more unstable. So, moist layers at 15,000 feet are necessary for continued thunderstorm activity in this area where there's development going on. Okay? Now here's something else. The velocity of winds must not change significantly with height. All right? That is another factor that comes into play in developing of tropical systems. But when you get those upper level winds that shear off the top of these storms that are trying to develop, you run into a less than favorable environment for development. So you've got your ocean temps must be over 80 to supply energy. We always say 80 degrees is the magic number for tropical development, right? I still feel like I missed something. I'm going back here. Wait a minute. I feel like I missed, but maybe not. No, I guess not. And then you've got your development, and then we just talk about tropicals. But at the end of the day, when you get a rising air mass like this, okay, when you get a rising air mass like this, if you have upper level winds that shear the top of these developing thunderstorm clouds, thunderheads, if you will, that prevents intensification and development. So when you have that, you therefore, which is what happens in an El Nino, your trade winds, as we talked about before, go back over to my computer again. As we talked about before, those upper level winds are blasting across the Caribbean and the tropical Atlantic, right? We showed you that map just a second ago. I will show it to you again. And that is why in summer, El Nino historically limits the amount of development of systems. It does not completely crush them. They still develop, but just the conditions aren't as favorable as they would be otherwise. In a La Nina, and the only difference is in a La Nina, instead of warm water off the coast of South America, you have colder water off the coast of South America. That's it. So that's simple. Now, you don't just snap your fingers and all of a sudden it goes from warm to cold, right? It doesn't work that way. So what you do is you transition from an El Nino to a La Nina. And here, as I was showing you, there are those upper level winds that cut across the Caribbean, which is why more often than not in a El Nino year, the Caribbean is very quiet. Like, I don't think we had any storms develop in the real tropical Caribbean last summer because it's a graveyard for them. They cannot develop with these upper level winds. Cannot's a strong word. They're less likely to develop. So when we go from an El Nino, which is where we are right now, and the forecast is a transition into a La Nina, that just means that the conditions change from that area of warm water off the coast of South America as the trade winds change to an area of cold water. Cold water at that point limits the trade wind motion across the Caribbean, and because of that, you get a more active tropical season. So, in a nutshell, if you have a La Nina in hurricane season, you would expect to see more development in the tropical Atlantic or in the Caribbean. If you have an El Nino, you would have less. We are in an El Nino right now. Clearly, we've been talking about it since the middle of summer that this was going to happen this winter, and it happened really nicely. Oh, you can't get the weather right tomorrow. Well, you know what? We got it right 6 months in advance. So there you go. You're the only job that can be wrong half the time and still keep your job. Yeah, like we haven't heard that one 11 billion times. Anyway, the point is, this is what's happening, and this is why it's happening. I figured I would throw that out there, okay? But let's do a few quick hellos, because I've been very remiss in my hellos. We've got lots. Stephen in Clearwater, Denise, as always, poolside in Odessa. Terry, how you doing? Brooksville's in the house with, is it Thone? I think it's Thone. How you doing, Thone? Dorothy, as always, how you doing? In Hardy. We have got Matt in Clearwater. So Matt, you booked a little stay in Clearwater Beach Saturday into Sunday. Is it going to be a bad day? Matt, it ain't going to be a good day. You will hardly ever hear me say to cancel plans because I know people lose deposits and whatnot, and I do not want to be responsible if I bust a forecast, which is different than busting a move. If I were to bust a forecast and cause you to lose money, you would be angry and I would feel really guilty. So I'm not going to say to cancel, but I am going to say it is going to rain later Saturday and into Sunday. A couple of weeks ago, we were out like 10 days out talking about rain that we were going to get. And I'm just as confident with this one as I was with that one, that one we nailed right on the money. Hudson's in the house with April. How you doing? This cold is dumb. You know what, April? I agree with you completely. I like the warm weather. Last weekend was gorgeous. 80, sunny. You can go to the pool. You can go outside. You're not freezing. You can get a little sun. I'm with you completely. Brian, shout out to MySpace. Don't even know why, but okay. Lisa, how goes it? Joe says he can't do TikTok. I'm back to those. You know what? I get it. To each their own. But I refuse to ignore a platform that is so dominant in a youth viewer. Now, our goal is, look, we're not going to kid ourselves. Do we think a lot of younger people are going to watch TV news? No. Will they ever watch TV news or local news on a whatever platform? I argue yes. Because once people get married and have kids, you guys know this, you change. And you start thinking more about how is the community impacting my schools? How is this impacting my life? Et cetera, et cetera. When you're younger and you're in your like low to mid 20s, you're just having fun. We all did it, right? But when you have kids and you start looking at taxes and insurance and all that stuff, you kind of change. It's inevitable. Our newsroom is 98% people 20 to 30. Really young newsroom, because that's the kind of the demographic of local news these days. So it's an interesting dynamic when you have a lot of people who don't have kids and they're still reporting on stories that are sensitive. Look, I talked to Wendy Ryan. You guys know this. I don't know why I got on this tangent. Wendy and I were talking about this years and years ago. Before Wendy had a child, we had this discussion. I said, once you have a kid, it just changes your spin on everything. It just does. Everything about you changes in the way that you perceive things. I mean, I know you guys know what I'm talking about here. And Wendy had that one. When she had Raquel, totally changed the way that she looks at everything. So I do find it fascinating that, there's a lot of newsrooms out there with a lot of young people. And I'm not saying they can't relate to stories with young children and whatnot, but I think it's more challenging. So anyway, my point is TikTok is a very young demographic, but it's one that cannot be ignored, or shouldn't be ignored, put it that way. When you have 40% of people in that auditorium raising their hand saying their primary source of news was TikTok. I found that crazy. Brooksville, again, Thone, how you doing? Spring Hill's in the house. We've got Debbie. We've got Clearwater, Marianne. So Nick wants to know about the races in Daytona. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and show you. We'll go through the forecast. At this point, I'll show you a map that I think is very important. Here it is. There's the rainfall potential over the next 7 days. Kathleen in Bradenton, how you doing? Patricia gets her news from TikTok, and she's 61. So there you go. So you want to know how much rain this weekend? There is the overall QPF quantitative precipitation forecast. In other words, how much rain is going to fall for those areas. And that blue color is 1 to 2 inches of rain. Now, I will show you, here, let's go ahead and call up the Euro versus the GFS for overall rain. Right now, my gut is I'm looking at about 1 to 2 inches of rain over the weekend. So here's the Euro. How far out does this go? I'm not even sure. This goes out through Saturday night. So the Euro is bringing most of the rain Sunday. So Scott and Holiday, I do not, and this is where I am right now. And here's the GFS, by the way, hashtag cha-ching. Let's look and see what the GFS is showing. Let's open up the window. Wait a minute, there it is. Okay, so there's the GFS through Sunday. I think that is a very reasonable number. 1 to 2 inches. I had not looked at this, but that's kind of what I said a second ago. And here, let's slow it down, though, in terms of timing. So here's the GFS. This is Saturday morning. Saturday afternoon, we start to see some showers come in. Right now, I'm leaning Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, we start to see the rain come in. The bulk of the rain, the heaviest rain, will likely be on Sunday. Now notice Daytona. The GFS has that main area of rain a little more to the south. But regardless that looks like that's an inch of rain around Daytona. You're not going to race in rain like that. So I'm not ready to give specifics in terms of totals. I do think 1 to 2 inches is probably going to end up being right about right. You see the rain on Saturday, that is more of a late day, overnight into Sunday event. And then the air back behind it turns cooler again. Every 7 days, this seems to be going on when you have an El Nino. It's just the way it plays out. So, it's Tuesday. Things can change. But right now, I would be inclined to say we're mostly cloudy on Saturday. The early part of the day will be dry. The rain rolls in later in the afternoon, and I know I've had a lot of messages of people with weddings on Saturday evening. I'm like, I got to be honest with you. I think it's going to rain. But if it were to change, I'm inclined to think it would hold off a little bit longer. So I'm not ready to say that Saturday is going to be a day where there will actually be measurable rain before the evening hours. I think you got a shot at staying dry in the afternoon. Right now, I'm forecasting rain in the afternoon. But if it were to change, the Euro is slower than the GFS. The GFS brings this in afternoon, night. Well, you saw it. The Euro waits more until early on Sunday. So you're saying there's a chance. There is a chance Saturday can hold off. But if you were to say, Dennis, would you go to the beach on Saturday and Sunday? Sunday, I would absolutely not go to the beach. Saturday, maybe the first half of the day might be okay. Friday will be nice, Christina. You are good to go for Friday. All right? So let me scroll back. I'm going to the fair on Sunday. Yeah, it's going to rain, James. Yep. Oh, Billy Joel and Sting. Yeah, Bridget. Thank you, Stumpy's Hatchet House in Tarpon Springs. I've seen that you have been posting. You posted on Paul's page. I think you posted on Mike's page. Yeah, you know what? I know some people who have gone, and they love your establishment. So I have not gone, but I've heard very good things. Okay. Boating Thursday. Scott, I think you'll be great boating on Thursday. Boating will be awesome on Thursday. Anita, how you doing? What about Monday, the last day of the fair? The rain should taper off. Well, let's go ahead and look at the models. Let's look at the models. All right? Okay. Here is the southeast. This is tomorrow morning, Valentine's Day morning. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way. Snuggle alert. Yes, there is a snuggle alert, but I would have issued a snuggle alert even if it wasn't because it's Valentine's Day. But it is a snuggle alert tonight regardless. Okay, so Charles is walking. Total washout is a strong word 5 days out, Nicole. I'm not ready to say total washout, but here is Thursday morning. Okay, here is Friday morning. Here is Saturday morning. This is the GFS, okay? Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, overnight Saturday, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, Monday. So the GFS is clearing us out by Monday, so your question about Monday on this Florida State Ferry looks pretty good. Yeah, maybe windy actually as that low cuts across, but out ahead of it, I don't see a lot of wind at this point. So I think you'll be okay on Monday. I do. Emily, how you doing? I was wondering where you were. Happy Valentine's Day to you as well. Okay, that's the big question. I get it. You know, you're asking about the 500. So this is Sunday morning right here with the GFS. Okay, that is Sunday morning. It's not looking good. I mean, but I'm not going to sit here and say, you're absolutely not going to get it in. No way am I going to say that. 5 days out, that's maniacal. I would never, ever do that. But I'm telling you, if you were to ask me, bottom line, here's my forecast. Rain developing late Saturday afternoon, rain off and on Saturday night, rain off and on Sunday, tapering off in the afternoon, later on the East Coast because it's cutting across and clearing by Monday morning. That's my forecast. Hopefully it'll change. I mean, we do need the rain, but I get it. There's a lot of folks with things planned on the weekends and wish we could get the rain during the week, but it's not playing out that way. Sunday morning, Janet, yeah, I mean, I think there's a really good chance of rain. So Miami, well, all you got to do is look at the overall rain potential, and it's the entire state. That's the overall rain totals for 7 days, but honestly, it's really only Saturday and Sunday. I mean, there we are, the entire state. And this will change, but, you know, you even see a swath coming in over Daytona. So it's not looking good right now. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's not looking good. Soccer, Nicole, you're okay because I don't think there'll be any lightning. Don't they play soccer tournaments in the rain as long as it's not lightning? Fishing tournament on Sunday. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to rain. I mean, I'll say it right now, and I hope hope by Thursday I come on, I'm like, hey, you know what? It's not going to happen. Well, it is going to happen. But maybe the heavier rains will be elsewhere. It's going to rain. The big area that's coming in. I mean, again, I'll go back and show it to you again if you missed it. I mean, I can show you the national picture too, by the way. So here's the national picture. This is tomorrow morning. There's Thursday morning. There's Friday morning. It's all coming in. Look in the Western Gulf. Look in the Western Gulf, all right? There's Saturday morning. It's coming in right across out ahead of that trough. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's just rain. Weak low pressure maybe in the Gulf. Not, 1,008 millibars, so not a lot of wind with it. It will get stronger, actually, as it pulls away. But there it is. I mean, that is Friday morning. No. Saturday morning, Sunday morning, Monday. Now, the Euro is a little slower, but that means more rain on Sunday. So, Melanie, your weekend of Monday to Wednesday looks excellent, although chilly again with highs back in the 60s. There will not be a lot of storms with this, Stephanie, maybe a few, yes, but I don't think the dynamics are necessarily there for a lot of severe weather. Okay? So, unfortunately, that is what it is. I just don't see a lot of changes in it. And the 540 line, as Anna Maria mentions, it is going to get into northern Alabama. And then that would be about it. Let's see what's going on after that. So that's about it, folks. And then drops down again, but it always does that down the road. If you're watching on the streaming app, have a great night. Appreciate you stopping by, and happy Valentine's Day. Okay, so that was the streaming, folks. But that's it. Yeah, that's it. I wish it were different, but I don't think it is. So, leaving Bradenton Saturday, riding to Fort Pierce the 22nd. So you're talking about the following week, Charlene? The following week actually looks okay. 4-H Pasco County Fairgrounds Sunday. Laura, yeah, here, I'll show you the 7-day. I think it's going to rain. I just do. I wish I could spin it, but it doesn't look very promising. I do think we are going to see some rain. So there's your forecast tonight. Clear, chilly. There's the 7-day. And we might even be underplaying that rain a little bit on Sunday, honestly. Yeah, we probably are. What's the Weather Service saying? I haven't even looked. Well, let us see what they're saying. My guess is they're probably saying higher than 50%. They are saying 80%. Yeah, I think that's, yeah. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yep, they're saying 80%. So honestly, I think that 50 is being really conservative. I think realistically, we're probably looking at 75 to 80%. All right. Well, there it is, guys. That's, yeah, what I'm saying, Anita, you're right. What I'm saying is it's going to rain. Cruising out of Port Canaveral on Sunday. Yeah, I don't think it'll be that rough, but it's going to rain. Now, that low, once it goes out into the ocean, some of the models are spinning it up a little bit, so it could get a little wavy out there for you. All right. Cruising out of Tampa Sunday. Yeah, again, I don't think it'll be a problem. In the Gulf, I think you'll be just fine. I do think there'll be rain, but I don't think it's going to be very stormy, and I don't think the winds will be that terrible. Mary, how you doing? Oh, there will be more snuggle alerts, Jason. Oh, absolutely. There is by no means are we done with cold weather. It's barely to the middle of February. We got some time. Usually it's late March, early April before we start to say goodbye to those forever, at least until the next year. So, cruising out of Miami Sunday, you'll be fine, Gilda. There will be some rain, but I don't think it'll be a big problem. I don't expect storms out of it. Could I give you thoughts for the weather next week? Western Hardee's, Ophir Springs. I think, Charlene, by Monday you are sunny, and you'll be sunny most of next week. So that looks good. How many more weeks do we have with this El Nino pattern, Jeff? I would say we're probably looking, we go from El Nino. Remember, all it is the water temperature transitioning from warm to cold. Probably April, we go more toward neutral, because you go warm, cold, and as it goes from warm to cold, it goes more toward neutral until it doesn't just go warm, cold. You know, it goes, the cooling or the heating is gradual. So yeah, I would say probably in April. There's the hint will be into La Nina by the fall, late summer or fall, and if that's the case, you would expect an uptick in hurricane development at the peak of the season. So that's always not a good thing. That's about it. No, La Nina is more hurricanes. And that's probably, going to be Vicky, I don't think you're wrong. I think you're probably right. So that's where we are. All right, guys, well, have a great night. We will be updating throughout the week as well. But to sum it up, weekend outdoor plans right now are dicey. Saturday morning, you're probably okay. Maybe even early Saturday afternoon, you're probably okay. But I do think later in the day on Saturday night, or Saturday afternoon, Saturday night and Sunday, you are going to see rain. That's why I'm leaning right now. All right, you got Jules. Thanks for the Bolts update. You guys have a great night, and we will see you on our next edition of Denis Phillips Live. See you guys.
We the lazy declare that we will recline when we feel inclined. And yes, we feel inclined.
We answered our kids' questions all day. It's our time to prioritize, no priorities.
Why?
Because
We put in back-to-back doubles. So now we'll be putting in extra OT right here.
We've checked off our to-do list.
Now we're checking off our to-don't list.
We the lazy are taking back lazy.
By getting comfy on our lazy boy furniture.
Lazy Boy, long live the lazy.